Welcome back, my friends. I'm so glad that you're here today. I hope that you've had a great start to your week. I'm going to try to do something very quick today for you. I know that sometimes I have long videos, and I hope that they're not too long for you, but this one I hope to move pretty quickly, and we'll cover the creation of something, and then I'll follow up on this with future videos if there's an interest. And so the only way I know if there's an interest is if folks stick with the video and if they give me some likes so that I know that this is something that you're interested in. This is one of my deep loves is to create books. And when I was first starting out, the whole idea of doing that was a little intimidating. And I started out, I found a wonderful lady, and I'll put her information in the information at the end of the video in the description. But she started out with, she offers a free introductory video to bookmaking, and it's really delightful, and her teaching style is just lovely, and it really encouraged me to give it a try. And so I've done all sorts of books, from creating some hardbacks to these kinds of little booklets and others. And so I hope that you'll look her up if you have an interest in bookmaking, or if you're just curious what goes into bookmaking. It's really fun. It's a wonderful world out there. These are little booklets that I created to make for Christmas gifts, and also for my little craft fair. Now, these have a Christmas theme to them, but you can do them, of course, in any theme that you want. I envision these being used by people for grocery shopping, for little miniature scrapbooks. If you've had an event and you've taken photos, I know how hard it is for us to create a huge scrapbook, but this makes something very quick and easy that you can send to those who were at the event, and you could even print the pages with your photos on them. It's a great way to capture memories of a specific type of event, and that's kind of what I'm looking for today. I have a friend who is getting ready to go on a journey, and so I'm going to create a little set of these. I'm going to do 3 for her, but I'm going to use things that are as my little string and my little pictures that are related to travel. And so this first one is going to be, I don't know if you can see that, it's going to be a little covered wagon, and I'll pick out some others to do. Other things that you can do, though, let's say that you have a friend who just got a new dog, or has a dog that's passed away, and you want to do a little memory book for them. You can take your little letters and string them on a wire and attach them as your dangle. I have many friends who are quilters, and if they wanted to record information at a quilt retreat, or just when they're talking to friends, they could have this little booklet with the quilt picture on the front or something about creativity, have this on the side, keep it in their purse or whatever, and be able to record quilts and information and tips and those kinds of things. So that it's just endless what you could do with them. And I also want to show you that this same kind of booklet, which is very, very, very simple. This one only has 2 holes. It's super, super simple. You can also create books that are bound in different ways. This one is I've shredded my paper on the edges to make it look rougher, like an older book. And in this case, I've done multiple stitches because I envision this being used as an art book, perhaps, or a mini diary. And I have bound it on the edges with a different kind of chain stitch, and then into the booklet. Again, that's a little more advanced, but it's the kind of thing that you can do with this. This is another style. This is with a leather cover. And there are, you can see from the edge, there are 2 booklets here. But the booklets are done exactly the same way that we're doing these booklets, except that I used a 3-stitch instead of a 2 for strength. So you can see that you can size these up and have a lot of fun. Each one of these booklets was sewn into the binding separately. It's just a way of decorating the edge, really, ultimately, and makes it a little easier to use the booklets on the inside. And then this is just, a little ribbon string that goes around and wraps in. So you can see that there's lots of fun ways, and honestly, none of these take very much time. These are just terrific gifts to give to people that are so astonished that you would take the time to create a book for them. So, and it might get you started off on a whole new crafting adventure. I've gone ahead and cut down my paper to get ready for this. One quick thing is, whatever you're putting on the side, if you're planning to mail these things, I would suggest these little flat types of decoration. Paper tags, or like this little wagon that I'm going to be using. These are more for your purse or to sit on a shelf at home. For your supplies, you're going to need paper. I'm just using copier paper, and I've cut it down to 6x4. You'll cut this down based on the size of your cover paper. Cardstock is my cover paper. I'm not using double-sided in this case. I'm just using a little pad that I had that measures 6.5 by 4.5, and that makes a nice little size booklet for working out when people are going to do little diary type things or information type things. And we'll work with that in just a second. You can put a cover. Of course, these were like little stickies that came from something that I had. This is double stock paper, and I actually used paper on the inside that has printed paper. In this case, though, I'm going to use a little cut apart to put on the front of the book, just for fun and ease, quick demonstration. Get that out of the way. You'll need an awl or a thick needle or some other kind of pokey tool to be able to get through your materials. You can use all sizes. I happen to have an awl. You can actually use your little scriber to do that. Many of them will also have a pointed end, which you can use to poke through. Just watch your fingers, be careful. The size of your needle needs to be relative to the size of your paper, because you don't want gigantor holes if you've got small booklets, because then it's going to take up more space than you need. This is waxed string, but you don't have to use wax string. You can use ribbon, you can use embroidery floss, you can use yarn, you can use a string that you tie off your garden stakes with. I mean, anything that will get through the holes can be used. How you package these up afterwards is up to you, but one of the things I do when I make multiples, and I'm going to make her 3, I like to make or have a little gift sack that I can put them in. This was made out of another gift sack that was bigger, and I just scrapped the pieces that were still usable and made them into a little carry-all with a little matching gift. So you can do that all sorts of ways. You can even make a little box for them if you'd like, or nothing at all. You don't have to get all fancy. If you want, you can add, especially if it's not going to be mailed, you could add all kinds of beads. You can make this as complicated as you want. This is a little angel and a pom-pom. The world's your oyster when it comes to how you want to decorate these things. So let's go. I'm going to use this little cradle because I do a lot of this, and it saves my fingers, but you can do exactly the same thing with a catalog book, or if you have an old book that you're already scrapping to use for different crafts. You can use the inside of it, just fold it out flat. You just are trying to get a little space where your awl will go through and not poke your fingers, because if you try to hold this and do it, you can poke your fingers pretty hard. The book works great, and I'll tell you, I use it when I do little classes with people in person. I use Uline catalogs. I got on their mailing list years ago, and God bless them, I've written to them several times and told them that I'm no longer using products from that catalog. I was using it in a different life when I was soap making, and they had things that I could use. And they just won't take me off their mailing list. So I end up getting a couple of those a year, and they're just the right size to use for this. So that's how I use them. So if you get some kind of mailed catalog, it doesn't even have to be very thick, just enough space so your needle will go down through your book. And it's a great way to get started with this kind of thing so that you don't have to invest in anything. My sweet husband built this, and I actually have the instructions for this little cradle, and I can I'll try to remember to put that in the description where I got the instructions for the little cradle. It's easy peasy. I didn't even bother painting it or anything else. I varnished it just so it doesn't mess with my paper. So okay, we're going to do one of these real quick. I'm going to use this paper, little diamonds. I'm going to use the paper that I cut. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make the holes, and you don't have to do a scoreboard with this. You can simply fold them in half. There's no reason to use a scoreboard unless you have some kind of hand issue, which can, well, am I sympathetic to that, because I have terrible issues with my thumbs. And just score it, or you can use your and the name escapes me, but you know what I mean. You can use this or the back of a butter knife to score that down. We're going to decorate these edges. I mean, I'm going to use a little corner rounder, but you don't have to, or you can do it by hand. Some people are able to do that. I'm going to fold this and in one fell swoop, because this is not very many paper, and so it should fold pretty well. I'm not worried about the grain, although this is going to fold with the grain, but we can talk about that another time. That becomes important when you're making bigger books, but not when you're doing something like this. So I'm just going to lay this down, and it is going to make this an uneven edge because it shortens these papers more than it shortens the center papers, and I don't care. So there's going to be enough space because I cut this as 6 by 4 and this is 6.5 by 4.5. There's going to be plenty of space for the edge. If you do this though, and somehow your measurements are weird, or you just, it got cut funny, or you just hate to have a loose inside like that, you can go back and cut those down on either by hand with scissors. I happen to have a killer guillotine cutter, but you can fix that. Okay, so there's this. We're only going to do 2 holes, so we don't have to worry about using some kind of measuring. You will if you're using multiple holes, like in this case. You can see that I've got 5, and so I put this on the inside. I measured where I wanted my 5 to be, and then I punched those holes, and then you put this inside your paper, and you would punch your holes accordingly so they would be spaced appropriately for a pretty binding. Okay, so I'm just going to redo those. Now, if this much space around bothers you, of course you can go back and trim this down. It doesn't bother me for what I'm planning to do with my little booklet, so I'm not going to trim it down. But you do you, and just, whatever makes you comfy. I am going to corner round these sheets. I am not going to corner round these sheets. Sometimes I do both, sometimes I don't. And you just have to decide, you know, what you like the best. I'm going to use the smallest of these little corners to make this work. Okay. This is an easy little craft. You are not going to find people hyper examining if this back inch is peering through or anything like that. That's just not going to be the situation. So you can punch this through all at once. I do recommend, because my visual when I'm in the middle of it and when I'm working on it can be off. So you could even, just to make sure that you've got evenly spaced holes, I'm going to do this and this. That will tell me the general spot where I'm going to do my pokey hole. And in this case, I'm going to do these at the same time. Okay. Now, let me look and see, is that going to be okay? Nope, I don't like that. It's going to get so close to my edge that turn and natural wear and tear is going to possibly cause these pages to fall out. So what I want to do is come in a little bit further. And so now that I have these marked, I can eyeball this. And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this. Okay. Now that's going to be where my holes are going to be. And I'm going to open this up. I can see from here where my hole marker is. So I'm going to just mark it there. You can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to mark it here. Again, these are not exact. I go through a whole other process when I'm creating a book that's much more, figured out, calculated, but I don't worry about it with something like this. This is truly one of those sit down. And you can batch make these very easily. So if you're wanting to do something like this for a craft fair, or if you want to give a little booklet out to all the members of a little organization or club, this is like the way to do it. Or if you want to teach them how to do it, this is a super easy little class for anybody to teach. It doesn't have to be challenging. Supplies are cheap. Okay, so I'm going to go right here, and I hope you can see that. I'm going to put my awl right there, and I'm just wiggling it. I'm not going to push down super hard. It's going to do the work for me, and when it goes through, it's going to go through. Okay. Here, I'm trying to make these a little bit big because I want you to be able to see them. Okay, so here goes this one. And there's that one. Make sure I went all the way through. Hold on to it. You can even use clips to hold those, but you can see my little holes have come through, and they're not too big on the back side. However, and this is something that I would worry about in certain situations, you can see that this paper is cheap, that it was not cut properly because it is cracking along the edge. It won't matter for the purposes of what I'm doing, but good paper for your cover in a nice book that you're going to spend time on is really important. So understanding grain and the quality of your paper and all of that. But this is just that cheap old Michael's pad stuff that's, it's just cheap. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little needle. Your only big decision now is, do you want to tie on the inside or on the outside? If you want to tie on the inside, you're going to put your needle through on this side and come back up on this side and then tie it. Or if you want to tie it on the outside, you're going to go out on this side, on this side, and back in so that you tie it out here. And that is the way that I'm going to go. So I'm going to find my little hole, go through, wiggle this through. The waxing helps a little. And this is not hard. It's just the factor of my hands are being kind of funky in this icy cold weather in North Texas. So I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to leave a good amount of thread. You don't want to get it so short, and you don't want to cut your thread until after you finish your project, because sure as the world, you'll cut that thread and you'll have needed another inch. And that is, that is just aggravating beyond belief. So now I'm going to pull my needle off my thread, and I'm going to decide, I'm going to pull this very gently, very gently. You don't want to pull against especially when you have grain like this that's so bad. You don't want to pull against this or you'll just rip through your paper. So just pull straight up, and then once it's fairly tight, it doesn't have to be super, super tight. Sorry, my paper's flipping around in there. I'm going to tie my knot. And because I am going to hang a dangle, I'm going to tie off center. I'm going to come up here to the top. If I were just going to leave the threads as my decoration, I'd tie towards the middle. But I'm going to go back up this way just a little. I'm going to tie it here. And because that grain is an issue, I definitely wouldn't want to hang big dangles off of this kind of cardstock. Okay. If that isn't as tight as you want it, you can always undo and tie again. But this is going to be okay for me because I don't want my little charm to be an aggravating thing on this binder. With a little looseness in my thread, nothing's going to happen in here. Nothing's going to come out. It's going to be just fine. I'll be able to accomplish that. So now, it doesn't get much easier than this, folks. So I'm going to put my little charm on. I'm just going to tie it one more time. And you could put a bigger jump ring if you wanted, or you could put one of those little clasps on there if you wanted. You could make this looser so it hangs down a little further. You could tie this off and hang it so that it comes down here. There's, you can tie it all kinds of ways. But this is what I'm going to do. It's quick and easy, and there's nothing to worry about. This is actually an embroidery floss that I waxed. And you can see that it's trying to come apart, and that's just fine. It isn't going to affect the integrity at all. So now I'm going to leave this a little bit long, though, and I'm not going to cut it off. I just have this. Use scissors. I just happen to have this sitting next to me. I'm just going to cut that off. Maybe I am. If you don't want this thing to unravel, you can take a little bit of glue, just a PVA, just white glue, clear glue of any kind, or fray check, and you can just rub it on there, and it will take care of that. And I'm not worried about it. It's not something I'm concerned about. So we've got our book made. It's done at this point, if that's what we want to call done. And that's just lovely. Then this one is, well, now I need my scissors anyway. I'm so silly. Let me get them. It takes 2 seconds. Oh, this has been a day. Okay. I like this one for my friend. The most wasted of all days is one without laughter. And that is truly, truly my mantra. So I'm just going to cut this out. Of course, you could use your cut board. You could do whatever you want, but this is so simple. You know, we've finished this up, and we haven't had to use any glue unless we wanted to fray check the end of those things. We haven't hardly had to use any supplies. This is copier paper, plain old copier paper. And that's a pretty good craft in my book if you don't have to spend a lot of money on supplies and figuring out what you want. I would like to go ahead and put, I think, nope, I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Matches the corners. And I'm going to actually just take this down for now, though off the camera. I am going to very likely also glue it because I want it to last. And things going in and out of your purse, you know how that is. They just don't last. They get snagged and all of that. So I will actually go back and stick some glue on this. But you get the gist, and that's the whole point of today's little video, is that this is not a complex project, and yet you come up with a really unique, sweet gift for a friend. You could use a button on here. You could just, you know, there's all kinds of decorations that you can do. You could use multicolor thread like embroidery floss that's variegated. If they are a crochet person or a knitter, you could use real yarn. There's, you know, just anything that you've got you could use to make this unique and special, and gift it to your friends. And on the inside, later I will put a little message for my friend, and then that's that. If you wanted to make it a set, of course, you could coordinate these. You could drop it in here. You could stick in a pin. You could stick in a little card. You know, you can just let your imagination go wild in how you can do it. And you can see how fast and easy that is, really, if you want to do this for a little craft fair or for a group or something like that. It takes no time at all. You can mass do every single step that we just went through step by step. You can cut all the pieces. You can punch all the holes. You can, you know, get your string ready for each one and lay it across it and get ready. So this is a nice, quick and easy one. I just want to thank you all again for coming to my little videos, and I thank you for those who have signed up. I really am just so blessed, and I appreciate it just more than you can imagine. I love to teach. I love to see what other people are doing. If you ever want to post anything in my little comments of work that you've done, I'd love to see it. And I do hope that you will subscribe and like and share my little channel so we can keep going and do more and more fun things together. But thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.